Hello, I am Bjorn, your movie archaeologist, and welcome back to the Temple of Movie Reviews. Today I dug deep, very deep into the trenches of this ancient temple, and what did I find but an artifact that, has some jewel-encrusted parts, but also has some lackluster areas as well. This artifact is Renfield, the new Nicolas Cage vampire movie. Alright, let's get right into this one. I'm going to go ahead and take off my hat now. That's for you, that one guy. You know who you are. I hate you. Why are you still here? Oh, dog interruption. There we go, people. Almost made it through review, huh? We almost made it through the beginning of the review without the dog showing up in the temple. How do you keep getting here? I keep dumping you back in Antarctica, and you keep showing back up at the Temple of Movie Reviews. So if you hear dog sounds intermittently throughout the review, this creature is why. Alright, so this movie, what I like about it, it's pretty funny. It has a lot of good funny moments. Nicolas Cage as Dracula is pretty great. The movie's about Renfield, who is Dracula's sort of assistant. He helps fetch Dracula's victims and takes care of Dracula's general needs. The movie is about him in the modern age, trying to come out of Dracula's shadow and get over his abusive relationship, and working through his problems with a support group. And that's the stuff in this movie that really works. There's a lot of comedy built around that. Obviously, I said Nicolas Cage's Dracula is really fun. My problem with this movie lies in the other half of the movie. The action. I don't think it's particularly great. I think a lot of it is really silly looking and not in a way I particularly found enjoyable. The CGI blood is frankly very, very bad. And if they were going for a throwback sort of like homage to old, like vampire movies, they should have used practical effects here, and they don't. They use CGI almost exclusively, and it looks bad almost everywhere. Where there are a few inventive kills and some fun set pieces, mostly the action falls flat for me, and I found it much less engaging than the comedy. The stuff that really works for me is the relationship between Renfield and Awkwafina, who I think some people might find irritating in this, but I found her to be enjoyable. I don't know why. I should not like her, based on the way she acts, but I find her likable. And almost everything I've seen her in, so I don't know. I guess I'm just a sucker for Awkwafina, man. It would kill me. Renfield, Nicholas Hoult, I think, plays him. I think that's the name of the actor, and he's pretty good in this. He plays the meek, sort of likable guy pretty well. Obviously, I mentioned Nicolas Cage is good. The other things that fall flat for me with this movie is the editing is very jarring and kind of just outright bad. I don't know what happened here. I don't know what they're going for with it. The editing is just bad. It was noticeably bad, and I almost never notice these sort of things. And all I could think was, wow, this editing is really bad. They'll probably give it an Oscar. It was just, jarring, irritating, grating. I kept noticing it, and I don't know what happened with that. Because normally in a movie like this, you wouldn't expect anything crazy. It's just, pretty bog-standard editing. But for some reason, man, they just decided to really dial it to the bad. The other thing that I found really jarring was the sound design. A lot of audio balancing and mixing was kind of off. Sound effects sounded really loud. Crunch sound effects were overly loud and sort of overlaid the whole movie. Again, these are things I don't normally talk about or even notice, but I noticed it here, and it grated on me, and I don't know quite why. While it might sound negative, I'm mostly positive on this movie. It's not as good as some of the other movies I've seen of late, but I still found it to be pretty enjoyable on the whole. A lot of good jokes here. If they had just not, I don't know, focused less on the gore or made the gore more appealing visually, they could have worked. The CGI blood is very bad here. I don't know how else to describe it other than sci-fi original movie. It looks straight out of Sharknado. Not good. The editing, again, very weird. Go ahead and mention that there's going to be some spoilers here. I'm going to get into some minor nitpicks with the plot. Number one, the fact that the entire police department is corrupt. I don't know if that's supposed to be a joke, but I found it very unbelievable and broke my suspension of disbelief a little bit. And I get, silly vampire comedy movie, but it was preposterously silly when the cops were chasing the other cop because they were on the take, out in the open and covering up crimes that were seen by 40, 50 people out in the open. It's just not realistic, and it didn't come off as sort of surreal enough to be funny. It wasn't played for a joke. It was played straight, like a serious dramatic moment, and it was just really silly and bad and didn't work. I thought there's some other things like that too. For example, the crime family. I thought, so they had all this weird imagery of the wolves on them. They were called the Loba Gang. They had this weird hangout full of saws, and there was some kind of something moving behind curtains in the background, and I was like, oh, they're werewolves. But then that just goes nowhere. There's no explanation for any of this, and it goes literally nowhere. So I don't know what the point of any of that was. The gang just feels kind of out of place to me in this whole movie. They're almost not even necessary to the plot. Like, the plot could have worked without them if I think about it for a little bit. You would have to make some minor changes. So I don't think that's really a good sign. I think maybe retooling the gang would make them a little more enjoyable. On the whole, a lot of my negatives with this movie involved the gang, and their purpose seemed to be just to throw bodies at Renfield for the action scenes, which again I thought were the weaker parts of the movie. That being said, the other half of the movie, that's a sort of lighthearted, raunchy comedy about a vampire thrall trying to come out of the shell of his master and learn to love himself, is very funny and like enjoyable. So I'm going to give Renfield a 6.5 or a 7, leaning more towards a 6.5, I think. I like this movie. There's just some stuff in it that really holds it back from being like cool. It's nice to see Nicolas Cage be in a vampire movie other than A Kiss from a Vampire. But on the whole, this one was kind of a miss and a hit for me. It went back and forth. I think director, if you ever watch this, or writer or whatever, maybe focus more on making the action fun to watch, or just veer away from the action in general. The set pieces where it's just Dracula in a room, like dashing around and sort of killing people off screen, that worked really well. I thought that was kind of creepy. I actually thought Dracula was notably creepy in this. I thought he worked fine. Yeah, that's really it. If you enjoyed this video, remember to like and subscribe. I'm going to go into the temple and look for more treasure, more artifacts to analyze with my movie reviewing eyes. Tomorrow we'll have another Massacast episode coming out, and sometime this week, probably Friday or Saturday, we'll have Thunderbolts second act. So like and subscribe to see that. If you're not caught up with the Thunderbolts, here's the playlist. If you want to watch more reviews for recent movies, check that out. Alright, I am out of here.